let's go ahead and get to a theist caller. We got Colton in Indiana. It's a lot of Illinois, Indiana today. Says that not all spirituality is a bad thing because it helps people, and pronouns are he, him. How you doing, Colton?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. What's on your mind?
I was in the chat and some people were telling me I should call in and just talk about, I don't know what I believe. I guess that's the thing that I could speak most passionately about, and would be that, I feel like oftentimes people, when they get out of spirituality or out of like organized religion, particularly, really go hard against it. And I think there's certain aspects of the human mind that need some type of higher power. I don't know if I'm exactly putting that into words correctly, but
I don't
take my thoughts cleanly. But
yeah, so I don't. So what I'm curious because like I don't. I came from a background where I thought I needed that and realized that I don't, and I live a much happier life. So how would that be the case? I'm not following. Like what is required in believing in something that's not true, that's going to prop up you? What I'm trying to understand, what is it that believing in something that's potentially false and not demonstrated going to do for beneficial? All right. So we will go ahead and...
Did we lose him?
I think we did. I'm not sure if we. I'm gonna put him out of the queue. We're gonna go to John in Wyoming. He's been waiting for a while because I'm not getting it. We'll bring you back up, Colton, if
Colton,
we can.
Call back in because you got a good topic.
Indeed. All right, so we'll move on to John. John is in Wyoming. Pronouns are he, him. Oh, okay. We're losing.
Hey, really
losing
quick,
John as well.
just on like with reference to what Colton was saying. I mean, there's a few different ways of sort of defending spirituality, of defending.
We got him back up, by the way.
Awesome. Well, then bring him on, and we'll let him keep going. And actually, I'll keep going for a second. So here's what I was going to say is that you can argue that that specific religions are true. You can argue that atheism sucks, or you can argue that religions have utility. You can make an argument that they're useful. And my question to Colton, sort of dovetailing into what you were saying, Mike, it would be, does it matter if a person's beliefs are true?
So
Colton, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm back. I got.
No, you're good. No worries, man.
That's the question I've been asking myself. So, I got out of Christianity for a long time, and I was an atheist. I'd consider myself an atheist for a while, and I still had the same problems I had, in Christianity in my life. I've had a really troubled life, to be honest, with, addiction and depression and those types of things. And it never really helped. I got into, more of like a naturalistic spirituality and really like seeking to like use a form of spiritualism to like help myself through these issues without going through the organized part. Is that true? Like, is what I believe true? Maybe. Did it help me? Yeah, it did. It helped me get through, rough times, and it's helped me work at being a better person. I'm a much better person now than I was years ago.
Colton, have you ever seen Dumbo?
Have
you ever seen the Disney Dumbo? So you remember in Dumbo that for Dumbo to be able to fly, he had a magic feather.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
And it might be something like that. It might be my... Yeah.
For those who haven't seen Dumbo, in the story, there's this elephant, and the elephant has gigantic ears that allow the elephant to fly. And but initially, Dumbo doesn't believe that he can fly, and is told that there's this magic feather that will give him the ability to fly, and then he flies around. And then when basically the whole arc of the story is the Dumbo, spoiler alert, Dumbo loses the magic feather. The magic feather is gone. And then Dumbo comes to the realization that the ability to fly was something that he possessed the whole time. So what I'm wondering,
like Michael's special stuff in Space Jam.
Yeah, exactly. Michael's special stuff in Space Jam. My favorite documentary, Space Jam. So the question that I'm wondering is, because I hear people make these types of arguments all the time, and it always just makes me sad, because I don't think there's any reason to think that what is happening, the ability that you derive from your belief, is something that exists anywhere outside of yourself. That what is happening at the level of your brain, that the ability to be a good person, to overcome addiction, to make positive changes in your life are things that you possess already. So I wonder if the idea that people need something else outside of themselves does some harm to our species, not just to the individuals.
Yeah, because presumably, Colton, you came out of Christianity. Oh, sorry, just real fast. But presumably, you came out of Christianity. That was an internal thing going on within you. Are you going to attribute that to the belief that you came to later about some naturalistic spiritualism? It doesn't seem like that. And answer me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like that's what prompted it. It seemed that you had a moment of being able to critically think and get out of the beliefs. My fear, though, is that for the same reasons that you were into them is kind of rearing its ugly head for the reason why you're moving on to this next thing. Because if what you're saying is that we need this higher thing for people, what I think that is the ability to critically think. And it sounds like you've already demonstrated that thing that is extremely crucial in someone's life to navigate the world, but then seemingly kind of will abandon that to the next thing, which is not going to involve any critical thinking, right? And so it seems like you're putting one thing up there that, like, we need spiritualism or something, at least what the caller note says, or humans need it for whatever reason. But if prior to you coming to that conclusion, you employed just, basic critical thinking, logic, and reason, why wouldn't that be superior to, like, what you can't demonstrate in this new thing, right? Like, why would you favor that over the thing that's actually helped you get out of the religion, I guess is what I'm saying. Because I don't know that you could get out of it without applying some critical thinking to it, right?
So, I don't know. The thing is either that my subconscious is really, really powerful, or I have some form of mental illness, or there's some spiritual being out there that's attempting to guide me into being the best version of myself.
Well, because all those things. I don't know why there's an or there. I mean, you can have a powerful subconscious. A lot of people, deal with mental illness. It's a completely normal thing. And it could be possible, I suppose, that there's some being out there guiding you. But I think the question that folks like JMike and I keep returning to is, what's true, and how do we know what's true? And is it necessary to believe things that aren't true to have good and meaningful lives?
Yeah, and to tag on to that, when you got out of Christianity, right? What was the reason that you stopped believing, or reasons?
I felt that it was really a control mechanism for the masses.
Okay. Is that the only? Because a control mechanism could still be true, but why do you think it's false? Because, like, it could be a control mechanism but still be true. So what reason did you come to think that it was false, or not, or just not? You don't believe that it's true.
God.
Okay, so presumably some contradiction. So presumably some contradiction or something that doesn't add up, where that thing couldn't be true. Now, is the thing that you believe in now, is it rigorously defined, or is it kind of vague?
I would say that it's a lot more vague, yeah.
Sure. So now that's going to make it really easy for when someone applies a criticism, like you might apply to, say, the Trinity, and pointing out, hey, this violates the law of identity, non-contradiction, and excluded middle, because it's very precisely defined, and you might be able to attack something. with yours seems so vague that you're not going to even apply criticisms to what you believe, because you always have like the back space to fall back into, right? If it's not rigorously defined, then the same criticism that you apply to get out of Christianity can't apply to the thing that you believe in now, because how are you even going to come to a point of disagreement about what you believe if there's not things that you agree upon in the worldview, right? And I'm worried that once you start there, it's going to be really hard for you to come out of it, because every time you go, well, this would explain that, you're applying some ad hoc reasoning that's going to you enforce that belief to yourself, as opposed to going, well, I started vague and I just started adding things that I think are true, right? Which would be presumably the same criticism of any other belief that you don't hold. You would think that I'm not gonna hold that. So there needs to be some accountability for why you left one religion, and then some accountability for where you're going to go with this and how you're going to decipher under the same criterion on whether or not it's true, like you did with the other one. Otherwise, it seems like you're like kind of special pleading to your intuitions.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? Any of that?
I don't try to speak. Yeah. I mean, it's why I don't really like to speak with any authority on what I personally believe, because I don't feel like I have personal interactions that I've seen with these deities, but nothing that can be demonstrated to another human being.
Yeah, I always, when someone says that, I always ask them now the same question, which is, how do you differentiate between an interaction with a deity and your own imagination?
That's the $1 million question.
Well, and it's uncomfortable. People don't like thinking about it. But there's a thing that I always worry about with people who talk in the way that you are here, which is you're living under the constant threat of having the rug pulled out from under you if you find out that these safety net of spirituality, that there's something in there that isn't true. It can if you lose that, then what? And I've seen it with people who are in recovery, where they are depending on some higher power thing, and then they find out that, well, wait a minute, I don't really have good reasons for believing that this thing is even real. Well, now what? I hear Christians. I saw a Christian today on Twitter talking about how if there's no God, there's no reason to care about the poor. There's these very flimsy constructs that are there, giving people reasons to be good, giving people reasons to think that they can do certain things. And my question is always, if we've got perfectly good secular reasons to be good, if we've got perfectly good secular reasons to believe that we can have fulfilled lives, if there's no reason to buy into believing bullshit that we can't prove or that we don't have good reasons to believe, then why would we? What are we setting ourselves up for? And when we do sort of normalize believing bullshit that we can't demonstrate to be true, does that open the door to other people believing lots of nonsense? I mean, it seems to me that the question of how do we know what we claim to know, how do we know what is true, that these are so foundational and we need to drill down on them. And I'll say, I think that you're in the position of probably being much stronger and more capable than you think you are, that you don't need the magic feather, and that if you can tap into not needing the magic feather, that could open the door to you having a whole new range of experiences and new growth. And I hope you find that.
Well, Colton, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, sorry, I just didn't know if you wanted to respond to Kenneth on that.
I mean, it's just something to mule over, and I just wanted to thank you for giving me the time to come on and talk through that with you guys.
Yeah, again, and we appreciate it. Before you go, I want to make a highlight on something that Kenneth said, because when you are presented with your imagination being responsible as opposed to, say, some deity, when Kenneth proposes this naturalistic explanation that seemingly underdetermines yours, and what I mean by underdetermine is just like they're on a par with each other, they both explain the same phenomena, think about the one case that in the case where the deity is like communicating with you, you're using your imagination. In the other case, it's your imagination. But what's one other thing that you're assuming in the other theory? Some deity there, right? If it's the case that when Kenneth rivals your theory with something that explains the phenomena and drops one of the entities in it, that's really bad for the prior belief that if we can just easily underdetermine it with naturalistic explanations, because all that tells us to do is shave off the parts that are unnecessary, right? Like it's a bad hangnail or something. You just don't need it. There's no point of it of causing, explanatory issues for you. But I just want to point that out just because I think anything that can be underdetermined by a naturalistic explanation is a big problem for somebody if they can't come back with something that shows why their explanation is actually indicative of the reality that they live in. But yeah, thanks again, Colton, and we appreciate it. Hopefully you call back and we hear your thoughts further about it. That'd be great.